everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and I am just grabbing this moment because I haven't done this video all week, and there's silence in the house for, who knows, maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm grabbing it. I did a Dorset Button class yesterday. It was really fun. And I did another one over the weekend that was also really fun. And I'm doing an advanced Dorset Button, or the second, not a basic Dorset Button, one where we're going to make all kinds of different looking, going off from the traditional on next week, Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. So I have been just knee deep in Dorset buttons. And I think Dorset buttons are a little bit the way some people think about hexes. You know, you start making them and then you kind of get like, it's this sort of almost addictive thing where you just keep making more. I don't know how many Dorset buttons I've made in the last few months, but it's got to be close to 100. I'm not kidding. So that's what I'm doing. And what else? I have another class that I'm teaching, which is the improvisational stitching class, which I'm really excited about. That's coming up. It's the first Saturday of April, and then it runs for 5 consecutive Saturdays through the first week of May. Totally excited about that. I did a video about it, so if you want to see more on it, you can. I'll post that in the upper right corner of this video. But otherwise, I just wanted to check in. If there's something you're stitching on, I hope you've got it and you're stitching away. It's getting to be spring here. It's in the 50s or so about. And I think people are starting to feel a little sigh of relief these days because more people have gotten vaccinated, and I think people are starting to feel like the light is at the end of the tunnel and we're getting closer to it here in New York City. So people are out and about. People seem to be a bit more cheerful, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll turn you around and we'll just stitch. How about that? We'll just stitch. I was thinking that it would be fun to do it once a week, to just sort of do a very casual, let's just stitch for a little while. I'm not going to teach anything in particular. I'm going to be working on a Dorset button. You can work on a Dorset button too. If you're getting ready for the Dorset Button 2 class, the more advanced class, which is next Wednesday, you need to have a bunch of Dorset buttons already wrapped, not the spokes, just wrapped. So, you know, grab a couple rings and stitch with me and wrap some if you're in that class. Otherwise, if you didn't get in the class or it wasn't a day that was convenient, I'll be giving more of them in the coming months. We're working hard on getting my website up. It looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel on that one. Boy, it's been going on for a long time, but I think we may have it up and running in the next month or two. I'm really hoping, because that will make all of these workshops so much easier to manage, and also for all of you to sign up for. So I'm going to turn you around. All right, so before I put you on a tripod, put this camera on a tripod, I just wanted to show you handheld what I'm working on. So this is my glasses case, and I've adhered all the ones with color down, but then I thought, well, I like having sort of some neutral Dorsets in the background. I'm working on a little one that's going to go here, and I've got one more here. On this one, I've got one more here. This is going to be my closure. I'm actually going to use this as a real button and let it be with a little loop on the other side. So, and I'm thinking I'm going to do some stitching in a neutral color along here in the background. I'm going to show you my scissor case, which I love. So this is my scissor case, but covered in Dorset buttons. So I used a lot of the stitching that I have in the directions around, and then I did the Dorset buttons on the inside, and there's the other side. And then I made a little Dorset button pull, and I just attached 2 Dorset buttons. Oops, get that off. Whatever that is, some thread. 2 Dorset buttons back to back. This is a Steph Francis pearl silk thread, which I just love. And this is from the Thread Gatherer, shepherd silk in 3 different colors. So the wrap, the spokes, and then the French knots around. And I made a little pulley for actually someone in my stitching group on Facebook, the Ariane Zurcher Stitching Circle, which if you are not a member of that, you must join because it's so much fun. But one of the people in that group made a little Dorset button pull. I thought it was such a great idea, so I made my own. So that's my scissors, and I've got the link to the basic pattern below. And here is my glasses, which I'm now just going to be putting together and hopefully have it finished by this weekend. Okay. All right, so look at this. Oh, by the way, so here are my Dorset button rings. You know, I get it comes with like 6 of these, I think, in different sizes. I have gone through an entire pack of all of these, and this is my 3rd pack. Here's the 2nd pack, but I ran out of some of the sizes, so I bought a 3rd. That's how many Dorset buttons I've got going here. So I'm just wrapping this little guy. I'm using all my favorite threads. So I'm using the Thread Gatherer. This is Oriental linen. Steph Francis. This is pearl cotton. All of this is Steph Francis. And then House of Embroidery, pearl cotton. This is an 8-weight, and I just love, they have so many great neutral colors. One of the things that I realized as I was prepping for my class, my workshop on the Dorset button, is the 2 videos that I have up on YouTube. I show doing a Dorset button left-handed, going clockwise. And what I realized was that if you're right-handed, you would probably be more comfortable working clockwise. But for left-handed, it goes much faster if you go counterclockwise. Hi, Merle. And so I had to refigure out how I was holding it. And it's always the tail at the very beginning that I think is the most awkward part of the Dorset button, and can be, once you get started and you start wrapping, it's great. But that little tail in the beginning can be the most awkward feeling thing, and I think it can confuse people. But what I've found is that by holding the Dorset button the way I am, so left-handed, holding the Dorset button, the plastic ring in my right hand, holding the thread between the index and the middle finger, so that I can then make that little buttonhole or blanket stitch around the ring, really works well. And I can wrap one of these, especially if I'm not doing it for a camera and I'm just sitting, I hold it down. Oh, I've got to get Merlin's little basket for him. There you go, baby. You go ahead. Come and sit. Where's your good boy? Come sit. If I hold it in my right hand and I hold the thread between my index finger and middle finger and then weave the needle through, this works much faster than if I'm doing that other way that I show. So I'm going to have to redo the video. I'm going to have to do a new one to show how to do that. You know, all of this, especially if you're left-handed, it's like everything's kind of a work in, look, and I just pierced my finger and now I'm bleeding. Everything's kind of a work in progress. I mean, there are so many stitches that I have found, and then I'll look at a book, you know, for like left-handed stitching, and I'll find that I'm going to do it differently. So I think it's good to have a couple of sources, you know. I mean, for us left-handers, there really aren't very many. Yvette Stanton, she has that, I think she's Australian, she has that left-handed book for the Left-Handed Embroiderer's Companion, it's called. And that's, I think, a terrific book and kind of my go-to. But even so, I find that there are stitches in there that I just don't do the way she demonstrates. And after a lot of trial and error, I've learned a different way to do them that works better for me. Like the trellis stitch, I do differently than she does. Look at this, and if I do this, it's going to get all over my thread. And fingers bleed so much. And then this, I cut myself. And then this is lead, by the way. If any of you have wondered, what is that on her finger? This is when I jammed a lead pencil into my finger. Like 30 years ago, this happened. That's what that is. Oh, it was funny. So I was teaching the class yesterday, and I said, someone said something, we were talking about pliers, and I was saying, you know, I really can't stitch without my pliers. I use these. They're very expensive. I think they're like $50 on Amazon, Lindstrom. But for jewelry making, I've had them forever, and so when I started stitching, I just used them because they're great and they don't have any ridges on the inside, so they don't damage your needle. You know, they're really for using with gold and silver, and you know, those are pretty soft metals, much softer than your needle is. Anyway, they don't do any damage, and I love them, and they're ergonomically, you know, suited for gripping, and they're great. And I said something about it, and someone in the class said that they had arthritis, and I said, you know, my mother has arthritis, and so did my grandmother. And I said, I think I didn't inherit that. And so someone in the class said, not yet. And I thought, okay, well, I'm 60. By the time my mother was 60, her hands were completely deformed. So, but I thought about it and I thought, you know, they're right. Not yet, because who knows how, if I'm going to get arthritis. I did get arthritis in my hip. I had to have a hip replacement when I was, I want to say 57. It was at least 3 years ago. I mean, I felt like I was really young to be getting a hip replacement, but the surgeon said that he had seen lots of people in their 50s, but it felt like I was really young to be getting a hip replacement. Anyway, that surgery was kind of a breeze. I mean, you know, it's major surgery. You've got a big bolt in your, you know, a spike that's driven through your bone. It's you know, it's carpentry. Anyway, it went well, and I was, I actually went to a retreat, I think 2 weeks after my surgery. And it might have been 3 weeks, but it was definitely within, I think it was 2 weeks. And I was able to do it. I was on pain meds and I was tired, but I was glad that I went. It was a lot of fun. In any case, I did get that arthritis there, and that was, you know, that was the same as my father. He had arthritis in his hips. But my mother and my grandmother, horrible arthritis in their hands. The only joint I have is this one, where I have arthritic. That knuckle is arthritic. You can see it sort of, but that's it. That's really it. So I've been lucky, knock on wood, knocking on wood. Okay, so there's my little wrap, and I think I'm going to push it down like I did this one. I'm kind of doing just a basic Dorset. I'm not doing anything fancy for these ones on the background. I really don't want to call too much attention to them. I just kind of want there to be something. So I'm going to push the ridge down into the center, and then I'm going to do my spokes, which those spokes, that's the next challenging thing, right? So the first challenging bit about a Dorset button is the starting it and just wrapping around that tail. That can be tricky. And then once you get going, you're good, right? You can just sort of motor along and all is well. But then the second bit that I think is challenging for people is getting these spokes. And whether you go away from you or towards you, it doesn't actually matter. It's going to be the same. So I'm going to do my little spokes here. I'm not going to try to get 12 in here. This is a tiny little button. And I'm going to just try to get 5, I think. So 10 spokes total. That's pretty good. Right. And then go in here. And then I'm going to go in here. And I know I had to stop talking because I have to concentrate on this part. And my little guy, what happened here? It got a little funky. Sometimes you can kind of scoot the spokes around if they're not evenly distributed, you know, by doing this. And then it's good. I think I'm going to push this one over just a little bit. I mean, the other thing to do is just to unwrap it, but I'm being kind of lazy. You know, here's the thing about these kinds of, oh, and look, I didn't get this in here and I need to. See this one going off to the side? That needs to get pulled in. So I'm going to pull him in. And there we go. Good. And now I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to go into this one. I need these spokes to pair up, right? You've got 2 for each one, and they need to be paired, and you want them to be center. And you don't want anything kind of sticking out in the back. And then to center it, you can tweak it by pushing with your needle. Now, I have broken so many needles doing this. Okay. So, for all of you who are feeling frustrated, and why isn't she in the camera, and the camera works terrible, because I am not intending to do a how to make a Dorset button video. I'm really just kind of stitching and chatting with you right now. So if you want that video, I'm going to have to make one over the weekend, and I will and I'll post it so you can see, and I'll do it for right and left-handed. So here's what I found with these videos. You know, when I started posting these videos, which was just a year ago, February 20th, 2020, right before the pandemic hit hard in New York City, I was doing these videos, right? And I was doing them just for left-handed. And what I found was, because so many people were watching them who were not left-handed, but were also right-handed, but they were trying to do what I've always done, which is sort of figure it out, sort of, so they were watching it and then trying to translate it for their hand. And what I've realized is more and more, the videos, I've only done a couple, but the pearl stitch video is one of them, where I show how to do it both left and right-handed. And I think people have found that really helpful. Although I have to say, having said that, okay, so let me just finish the thought. So what I'm thinking is that more and more, as I start redoing some of these videos, I'll include a brief demonstration of how to do it right-handed for all of you right-handers out there, because I know how frustrating it is. But having said that, I'll also add that Mary Corbett, who is on YouTube and has done just about every stitch known to mankind and done a demo of it, is right-handed, and she's just a great resource. I know lots of you, maybe aren't doing hoop embroidery. She's more traditional, but the stitches that she's teaching can be applied to anything, right? I mean, just because she's using a hoop or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still going to teach you how to do the stitch right-handed. She's a great resource. She's also really very good about, people often ask me about thread count on linen. I don't know anything about thread count, honestly. I mean, I come at this as a designer, sort of artist, and I don't really bother with thread count. I figure if I can stitch through it, it's good. So I don't even know, I'm not even getting linen that where I would know what the thread count is. I'm just purchasing cool looking linen that I like, and I like the color, and I like the way it's dyed or whatever, and I'm hoping that I can stitch through it, and so far so good, I have. But Mary Corbett is a great resource for those of you who are really want to dig down a little deeper. And if you're cross stitching, I think I'm not a cross stitcher, so I don't know, but I hear that, with cross stitching, there's a count, a thread count. And Mary Corbett talks about that. She has a blog, I think it's called Needle and Thread. She's been around for a long time doing this stuff, and she's just a great source of information like that. Really, really cool. And I often will go to her when people ask me questions. I'll sort of Google it, and inevitably Mary Corbett's covered it in her blog or on YouTube or somewhere. So she's just a great resource. So here we go. As I've been talking, I have almost got this little guy down. And this would go faster if I weren't trying to also, even as bad as this camera work will be, it would go faster if I wasn't trying to get it in the camera frame. Because usually I can make one of these in about 20 minutes, start to finish. It's amazing how quickly a 3-hour workshop can go. That's what these Dorset Button workshops are. They're 3 hours, and they go so fast. And everyone says that at the end. Oh my gosh, that went by so fast. It just does. It's kind of the fun of it though too, right? We get to sit, we get to sort of zone out. We get to make pretty things. I just love, can I just say, I just love the way this one turned out. I love that. I love that it's got like the little cast on. Let me see if I can put my camera down. I love the Steph Francis thread on the outside. And then I did, this is called their texture selection. And they have a whole bunch of threads that they use. Like they'll do a cotton chenille, and then they'll add a metallic and a viscous ribbon, and it's all in one pack, which is kind of great because it's, so you don't get as much yardage because you're getting like 5 different kinds, but you get 5 different kinds of thread all in the same, the same variegation. So that's pretty cool. And I just love that. I just, I put in a big order and I bought, I think just about every single color that they do. They have 51 colors, I think. And I think I have almost all of them. I think there were maybe a couple pastels that I didn't buy. I'm not sure. No, I think I got even the pastels. Those colors that Steph Francis, so Steph Francis, I'm trying to talk them into letting me interview them on camera. They haven't agreed yet, but I'm getting there. I think I just have to build a relationship. And I'm hoping they'll at some point agree, but because they're in England and I'm in the US, and I would love to see where they're doing all this. And I think it's just the 2 of them. I mean, maybe they've got a couple people coming in to help do stuff, but for the most part, it's 2 of them, James and Anna. And they're just lovely. And they are, and they're doing all this. I mean, have you gone to their website, stephfrancis.com? It's amazing. But I want to know, I'd like to know, I have all these questions for them. And then I thought I would film it and I would put it on YouTube, and it would be fun and everyone would get to see. I also want to do that with Cece over at the Thread Gatherer. I thought that would be fun to interview her and have her walk around, with a camera. And so we could see. I want to see these places, don't you? I'd love to. I always want to see how things are. I want to see where it's all being done. I'm always curious about that, like, what does it look like? What's the process like? Take a field trip. I have to say that's one of the great things that came out of this. I mean, if there's anything that you can say nice about the pandemic, I mean, it's horrible, so don't get me wrong, start to finish. But one of the byproducts of this pandemic was the number of Zoom workshops that one can now take. And so, for instance, in my workshop yesterday, we had someone from Mexico, someone from Alaska, someone in Arizona, someone in Minneapolis. And the workshop over the weekend, I think it was someone in England. In any case, it was, someone from Australia. Sometimes when I do a live stream on YouTube, there'll be someone from Costa Rica, someone from somewhere else in South America, someone from, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Spain. I mean, it's so great that we have the ability to reach people from all over the world. I just love that. It makes me so happy. Sometimes when I look at the I'll look at my blog at the stats, and it will tell me from what country. And sometimes it'll be some like Uzbekistan. Someone has, and because I have a translator on there, anyone from anywhere in the world can translate the blog. I love that. You know, that's so cool. It's like Facebook now with translator. All these people, we have a ton of French-speaking, native French speakers in the stitching group and in my stitching circle on Facebook, but because of translator, we can all understand each other and have a conversation. And I just love that exists and is available to us. It makes me so happy. Okay, so over the weekend, after I had my workshop, I had been invited to a girlfriend's bridal shower. And so we played. It was really fun. It was so much fun. And she's in LA. And, you know, I would never have been able to attend because I'm not getting on any airplanes right now. In any case, we played these games. And one of the games was, you know, asking different questions. And one of the questions was, would you rather be able to speak every single language in the world fluently, or be able to communicate with animals? And it was a tough one, you know, because I would love to be able to communicate with animals, but I love traveling. And I just thought I would just, to be able to speak any language in the world and to go to any country and be able to speak fluently, that would be amazing. So that was the one I chose. All right, so there's my little Dorset, and I'm going to put him right there. He's a little darker than I thought he was going to be, but, you know. All right, all of you, I don't know what you were doing while I was chatting and doing my little Dorset, but maybe you got a Dorset button done as well. And if you didn't, maybe you got some other kind of stitching done. Anyway, I'll see all of you later. And in the meantime, let's keep stitching together. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. That always helps me with my YouTube algorithms and all that stuff. And subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to join my Facebook group. I'd love to have you there, Ariane Zurcher Stitching Circle. You can just put that in the search on Facebook and it'll come up, and just answer a couple questions and you'll get approved, and that'll be it. Okay, everyone. Bye.